Today on the show, we welcome Riley Brady, a coach, bike mechanic, and ultra runner living in Boulder, Colorado. They just won the Javelina 100 miler in a blistering time of 14:19, coming in 7th overall. We talked about lessons learned from their previous 2 Javelina performances, nutrition changes, heat strategies, and so much more. I, for one, got to witness Riley's infectious energy on the race course, and I am so excited to share part of their journey with you today. Enjoy. Welcome, everybody, to the Trail Network podcast. I am your host, Katie Asmuth, joined by my co-host,
Leah Yingling.
And together we have a really special guest, Riley Brady. We are so happy to have you on the show. Welcome to the Trail Network podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
All right, you are coming off a first place finish at Javelina 100 miler. Secured a golden ticket to the big dance at Western States in June. We want to hear how you're feeling.
Now I'm feeling pretty good. Like, some of the initial soreness has faded. Some of the excitement has started to set back in. I'm feeling less like I have to run 100 miles again and more like, yes, I get to run 100 miles again.
Okay, can I just tell you guys, I was listening to the SWAP podcast today because I wanted to hear what went down with David. And David was talking about how he's like already planning Western States. And I'm like, that's not normal. Like, usually it takes several days for you to be like, do I even ever want to do this again? You know? I was like, okay. Wow.
I feel like it's different though. Like with your first golden ticket or your like first time going to Western States, it's just like, I don't know, that feels like such a big deal. I feel like when I first got my golden ticket, I was like also already planning states. And now I'm like, I got other stuff to look forward to. Like, of course I'm excited about states, but like there's other things first, you know?
Right. And you know how like hard states is.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, it was funny. Like when I was pacing Riley, anytime I would bring up like the words Western States, Riley was like, I don't want to talk about that right now. Like, wait till I finish. And I was like, honestly, like, I get that.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm out. I'm done.
New topic, cats.
Yes, that was a big topic of conversation.
I'm impressed you guys are even talking out there because I feel like
Riley was also singing. So yeah.
Wait, what?
It helps. Like,
you were singing
on downhills only, not very well. Like, that is not my best version of me singing. But it like helps kind of get me out of my head, and like, I don't know, it's just like a tactic I used. Like if I'm, it pulls me out of my head. I'm focused on the song. I'm like, I'm more into the music. It works.
So, are you listening to music also, or it just comes out?
Yeah, but sometimes no, I'm listening to music.
Okay.
But on training runs, I definitely sing to myself and I'm not listening to music.
I love this so much. I didn't know this about you. No, I'm just, Leah, what kind of music was Riley singing out there? Now I need to know.
Honestly, I have no idea, but it sounded like good music.
What do you listen to?
Primarily country with some pop thrown in there. Some 80s pop. We got some musicals.
Yes.
You know, it runs the gamut.
I will say though, 4 miles into my stretch with Riley, they did not enjoy the music at the Coyote Camp aid station. And that was like the one remark that was made was like, what is this music? We need to get out of here.
That's a good
It was so bad. It was like this horrible abrasive techno, like it wasn't like a catchy beat or anything. It was just like bad noise.
Yeah, like
I don't know. Maybe they were just trying to get people out of the aid station.
Yeah, and it got us out of their pass.
Yeah. Dude, maybe that was the problem at Jackass Junction. So I was like on the opposite side from headquarters at that aid station, and our music was so fun that I think people just hung out for way too long. At one point, there was just this like, I don't know, 20 people just hanging out in lawn chairs. And I'm like, all right, who needs help? Let's go. Come on. How can I help you get out of here? It was like, come on, people, you know? Oh, man. So I guess our music was pretty spot on, but
too good.
Too good. All right, Leah, do you want to go or do you want me to jump in?
No, yeah, I got it. So, Riley, I think you and I talked about this a bit during pacing and post race. Like, you've now been every single position of the podium, which is really cool. I don't think anybody else at Javelina can say that. So, that's like a little crown on your head. But it had to have been really special this year after falling a bit short last year, not quite having the exact day you wanted to have, despite ending up on the podium. Taking 26 minutes off your PR in like the hottest Javelina in history. You probably got sick of me telling you while I was pacing you that like you're made for this course and you're so good at this course and nobody does it better. How did that feel having like this triumphant win PR and just like proving your past self, like you can kind of conquer some of those past demons?
Yeah, it felt really good. Obviously, I'm super excited about the win. I'm really excited about the ticket. And, you know, running a really fast time on a hot year. I think I'm more excited about the fact that I feel like I've maybe finally put the pieces of the puzzle together as far as my stomach goes. I think I still have like a little bit of work to do, but yeah, this was just, you know, so much better stomach wise than so many of the races I've done over the past like 2-ish years. And so that's really what I'm so excited about coming out of this race, is that I was able to hold that together.
Okay, can we dig into that a little bit? Like, what did you do different? Are you working with the nutritionist? How did you solve this puzzle? We need to know.
Yeah. So I did start working with dietitian Vic Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
He's so hot in ultra right now. Everybody knows.
Hot name. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think one of the big things was just hydration, to begin with. Like he kind of helped me set like a minimum to be drinking. I have a pretty low sweat rate and a pretty low salt rate. And I think just historically, I was like, I can kind of cheat it and like get away with these lower volumes. And he was like, you have to be drinking at least a bottle an hour. Like that's the minimum. If you want to drink more than that, great. And I did that. And like there were times where I was drinking a lot more than that. And I think I was pretty well hydrated throughout the day. And then it was basically all liquid calories. The couple times I tried to take gels, I immediately threw up. And so I just nixed it. And I was like, all right, we're just sticking with the liquids. They're sitting well. So I think going forward, I'm not even going to try gels. Everything's liquid from here on out.
Cool. That's awesome. I think, what was it, Magda Boulay, when she won Western States, she did it entirely off of Guroctane. And I think that works for some people. Like, I think that's why we have a variety of nutrition in the sport, is so there can be options. And I love that, like, you recognize that in the race, and rather than trying to force it, you're like, okay, like, let's look at my liquid nutrition options and see how I can kind of play with those a little bit and figure out like the right mix.
Yeah, totally.
Sophia DeGraff or something. Do you know?
Oh, Sierra.
Sierra. That's it.
Yeah.
Sierra. Thank you. Okay. This girl is like a total baller, like knows what she's doing. She's just, her stomach's upset as she's having a hard day. And I'm looking at this medic going, okay, it is 98 degrees outside and you're like shoving food into this woman's face who's like absolutely redlining, and like that is not the right advice, you know. Okay, wait, so can we talk about how you said 1-ish bottles an hour of Guroctane is what we had at the aid station? So tell me more.
I took so I was drinking closer to 2 bottles an hour when it was really hot in the heat of the day. Yeah, closer to, not quite 2, just under, I think. And I was relying on my drink mixes from the aid station. So I'd have my crew put powder in 2 bottles, just dry, so that I could fill those at later aid stations. And then they'd send me out with 1 filled bottle that I'd drink by the time I got to Coyote Camp. And then when I ran out of my stuff, then I just switched to Gatorade at the aid stations because I really don't like Guroctane. and the Gatorade also is kind of disgusting, but it was like good enough. Um, so yeah, that was what I was drinking.
What do you use? Is that a secret?
No,
There's
no.
like
I was using
this powder.
My special mix.
I was using a couple things. I was using the Scratch high carb raspberry, which is like it basically tastes like water. And I cut that to half a serving because that's still 50 grams of carbs. It's just so hard to mix. I didn't want to take that as powder in my bottles because it just takes too long. So then the powder I was taking was the precision carb only, and then just some regular Scratch to just get a little bit of salt in there.
Yeah, it seemed like, at least from my perspective of like my one aid station, crew aid station transition I watched, and then the rest of my loop with you, like that was working really well. I know like the last hour or two you were saying like, oh, you're pretty depleted, but you knew you could kind of like get away with riding that line of low carbs, low calories at that point. Had that been something like you'd experienced in a race before where you're just like, okay, it's my last 2 hours. I can kind of just push it to the finish off of fumes?
Literally every race. I mean, like, especially with the vomiting issues I've experienced, like where not only am I not able to take stuff in, but I'm losing stuff. Like that was my race last year at Javelina. I was throwing up so much and I was still able to make it to the finish line. So like, I know I can do that. When I first got into this sport, there was no talk of fueling. Like it was like Killian running off into the mountains with his Snickers bar.
Yeah.
And like Anton with like one bottle shoved in his shorts band.
It was like cool to not have a lot. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so like when I first started doing ultras, like I was barely eating. And like that is not something I advocate. Like I'm still trying to work on getting a little bit more in because I really think it's beneficial. But yeah, like I think even though I was probably on the lower side of carbs compared to a lot of people at this race, I was doing much better than like I have for me in the past.
I'm curious, what else did you learn in your last two Javelinas that you brought to this race regarding maybe cooling strategies, maybe aid station turnarounds, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe overall training was different, but I'm just curious what you brought to this race that you hadn't known the first time.
That seems like so long ago.
Yeah.
I do think the first year I kept trying to skip Coyote Camp, like just take 2 bottles from headquarters and make it all the way to Jackass. And I think I learned that stretch between Coyote Camp and Jackass is really hard and hot. And like you can't skip Coyote Camp. Like unless it's the first lap, you can't skip Coyote Camp. And I think especially with the forecast this year, just focusing on the cooling strategies, like I do well in the heat, but I knew that this race is one where you have to just take those couple extra seconds at the aid stations to like make sure you're getting your ice, make sure you're cooling down. And if you do that, like it'll be okay. You'll survive.
Yeah, I think I saw on the live stream too, Riley, that you took advantage of the kiddie pull and you did a flop, a rotate,
Yep.
body immerse, which is genius. And I think like is one of the things that you really need to take into consideration when you're out on that loop without crew. Like it's on you to take care of yourself. And I think in a golden ticket race, especially, athletes are really quick to just like want to stay with the pack, want to get through, want to like make these aid station transitions really fast. But I think at Javelina, especially with the record heat, we saw people like you and Jeff McGavero who were truly spending time like doing those little things in aid stations come out on top. And I think that just speaks to the value.
I think it makes you make up time. Like you take a few extra seconds to cool, and that's going to save you minutes on like your running pace later in the day. So it's 100% worth it.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Leah.
So I've followed you in your last javelina attempts as well. And something that was really cool to see this year was you had the confidence to just like take it out from the start and like take it out at a pace that like you had not taken it out at in the past. Like your first lap was like quite fast compared to like what you had historically done. What gave you the confidence to do that? And like, what were you telling yourself in those moments to really kind of keep yourself inspired and like stay out there?
Yeah, I actually think I'm just fitter.
Mm.
I did not intend to take it out from the front at all. Like, I fully expected there to be people ahead of me and maybe well ahead of me. Like, I was just running. I kept checking in with myself, like, okay, does this feel sustainable? Like, am I pushing too hard? And I was like, no, I just feel really good. I'm having fun. I'm not pushing beyond what I can do. And it was cool in the morning. So I was like, I'm going to take advantage of this time while it's cooler, get as much of the course out of the way as I can, without like pushing kind of beyond my limits. But I felt like I was very in control that first lap of myself. Like, I was not worried about anybody else. I was just really surprised there wasn't anybody else running next to me. Yeah, I just kept telling myself, like, just run. You're just running. Like, this is just a normal run.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear you say that too, because I think I was for like the single track pre-race interview or pre-race preview. One of the things I had thought about was the fact that all the golden ticket winner recipients who were returning to this race were never the first golden ticket winner of a race.
Mhm.
They're always like second or third. And I thought it would end up playing out kind of similar to how it did, which was like who's going to take the lead, because a lot of these people are kind of like used to being in those like second and third positions and like maybe hunting later, maybe playing it conservative so they can like conserve that spot. So it was really cool to see just like how confidently and like comfortably you were running, like your pace and your posture, your like everything. You were like
So
there
in
was no
control.
flaws all day long. Like
Yeah,
even
I was comfortable.
it was so cool. Like I have video, I should send it to you. I have video of you in like the last 5 miles and like your stride is still beautiful. And I mean,
Oh,
I know what I look like 5 miles from a 100-mile finish line. And like it is like 10% of whatever your beautiful form was looking like right then and there. And I think that speaks to just like how you paced it, how you raced it, and like honestly the fitness that you're talking about like coming into the race with.
but Leah, those last 5 miles, like when we were running them, I was like, we are flying right now. Like, we are running so fast. I look back at the splits, we were not running that fast.
I was
Like,
sure we were gonna see like sub 8 pace on like at least one or two of those, honestly. But I will tell you, I ran the 31K last year, and like, granted, I think I like raced the first half of it and like kind of just suffered the last half and like kind of enjoyed it. But I PR'd there's a Pemberton descent on the section I ran with you the other day, and I PR'd it. So I ran faster with you in the 100-mile than I did in the 31K
Damn.
last year.
That's awesome.
that's only because you were there being like, all right, we got to hammer. We got to
Yeah,
bring
we
this in
gotta
fast.
He's like, we got to close on nobody ahead of we. I don't know what to say here. We're killing it.
Don't worry. I had like my carrots in my head that I was dangling. I was like, okay, we can take this carrot and dangle this one. If that's not working, let's try this one.
I love it.
I always want to finish strong though. Like, I don't need many carrots. Like, I am not the kind of person who's like, oh, I've got this locked up, so I'm just gonna like hang back and chill. Like, I want to get the best out of myself. And like, I'm sure you guys are the same way.
Sometimes.
Did you feel like you got the best out of yourself?
I do feel like I did almost as well as I could have given the day. I think I would have tweaked a couple things with my liquid fueling, like tried to get a few more carbs in. I think I should have switched to Coke to get some caffeine. But yeah, I think I was pretty spent at that finish line.
This episode is brought to you by Osprey. I see Osprey everywhere, as I'm sure you do too. Whether it's luggage, kids carriers, or running packs, Osprey is the one-stop shop for adventure. My current favorite for backpacking is the Aura LT50. for lighter weight, multi-day overnight trips where comfort and ventilation are critical. It has an anti-gravity suspension that delivers a weight-defying fit that seamlessly envelopes your back and hips. Talk about comfort. The pack also has easy-to-use side pockets, trekking pole attachment, and integrated rain cover. And it's made with recycled materials. Head over to osprey.com and click on their tool, Pack Finder, to find the perfect pack for you. So I have a question about the looped format. That was new to me. I had never been to a looped 100-miler before. And being at the aid station was hard for me because there were so many people coming through. There was the 100K runners, the mid-packers, the back of packers. And then because I was on the live stream, of course, I'm tracking obsessively who's coming in from the leaders. And our team knew who was coming in and who we were expecting to come in. And sometimes there were surprises, but you were never a surprise. You were always there in front. But I will say that it made it difficult from a aid station perspective because people didn't know that you were going to be coming in. They were kind of treating kind of the front pack just like they were everyone else. And so, of course, being the competitor I am, I'm getting everybody riled up. Riley's coming in now. Everybody get ready. Where's the ice bucket? Where's the, let's go. We can't just, this is a in and out situation. And it wasn't just for you. I felt like I did that for everybody, to be fair. I got in trouble a little bit. I was like, you're media, stop crewing. And I'm like, I'm not crewing. I'm just helping. Aid station helper. But anyways, I'm curious if that played a role in your day. And if that was a factor at all, if that bothered you, if it was difficult to kind of get through that crowd, and if you felt like you were able to quickly get in and out of aid stations the way you had planned.
Yeah, it definitely gets a little tough on the second and third loops in some of those aid stations where it is really busy because you roll up in the first loop and there's nobody there. And so the volunteers are like, let me take your bottles. I'm filling these, you go get ice. Which is great. And then, you kind of have to be a little louder and maybe more vocalize more that you need help. And I think I figured out how to do that. It definitely helped when somebody else in the aid station saw I needed help and was like, I got this, you go. And the volunteers were awesome. There was one woman, I think at Jackass, who grabbed my bottles from me and she was like, you got to go get iced. So I don't know who she was, but she was amazing. And all the volunteers were fantastic. And I don't think it really it is a lot of chaos, but everybody has to get their nutrition stuff. I get that. And I don't think it really took significant time off of my time. It's fractions of seconds, maybe.
Yeah, speaking of aid station chaos, we were privy to one scenario on the live stream on lap 4 where you came in with your pacer and you left after you did all your things in the aid station, but you left.
Oh my God.
And then you turn, I guess Katie experienced it firsthand, but you turn around looking for your pacer. Can you describe that moment in time and the kind of some couple minutes there of chaos that kind of went through your mind?
Yeah. So the funny thing is, for me, the chaos was very momentary. Chelsea, my pacer, in all the chaos, thought I had already left. So she had left the aid station with my bottles. But right outside of Jackass, you go up this tiny little hill and then all goes downhill. So you can see for miles the trail. So she basically got to the top of this tiny little hill and was like, no way Riley's out there. I can see so far ahead. So she realized that I wasn't out and turned around and immediately came back down the hill. And so Katie told me get out of the aid station. I'll tell your pacer to go.
This is taking too long.
So I did.
Go. Yeah.
Right. And then I ran into Chelsea pretty much immediately and it was all fine. And then my parents and I actually watched that snippet on the live stream later. And the drama on the live stream was so much bigger than the drama was for me in the moment. Watching the live stream with Katie being Riley's pacer. I was getting stressed for me. I was like, oh my God, where's Riley's pacer?
Could you hear me yell for for your pacer? You could hear me yell
No.
Chelsea? Okay.
Not in real life, but when we went back and watched that segment on the live stream, we could hear you asking for the pacer. But so it made for great live stream drama.
It did, because like Katie came in with like breaking news.
Yeah.
Well, because then I was terrified because I'm sending you out to the course without bottles, which is potentially the end of a day. I mean,
Yeah.
And so then I'm feeling all this guilt, like, oh my God, what did I just do? But so I'm like freaking out, going, I got to find this Chelsea. I got to find this pacer.
Yeah.
Where is she? Is she in the porta potties? Where is she? I'm like screaming her name, like, where's Riley's pacer? Where's Riley's pacer? And then nobody, I'm like, all right, must be gone. And so then I come on, I'm like, okay, that was really scary because hopefully Riley didn't just head out without bottles and it's all my fault. And oh my God, I'm the worst. I don't know what I said, but all I do know is that then, so fast forward, you never came back, because I think if you went a mile, you still didn't see her. We were like, okay, clearly you found your pacer. You're fine.
If I went a mile and couldn't find my pacer, I don't think I would turn around, to be honest.
Okay, or whatever. You went like a quarter, whatever it was. I'm like, clearly it worked out, right? And so, but then Pete is telling me, looking at the chat, going like, people are saying, Katie, that maybe Riley's muling, like the pacer is carrying your stuff. And I'm like, whoa. So then I have to go in the chat and I'm like, wow, false news. Nope, that didn't happen. The pacer was right there at the top of the hill. Other people saw it was just me causing drama. Like, oh God. Anyway.
Yeah, it was just on the aid station. She was not muling for me. I grabbed my bottles from her.
Oh my God. Anyways, see, this is the drama I bring. I'm so sorry. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed in so many ways. What a spaz. Anyways, Chelsea wasn't muling for you. I'm so glad we could set the second record. You heard it here first, folks. It wasn't real news. So there we go. Please, Arvipa and Nana post. I will not be that dramatic next live stream.
No, I think it makes for great viewing. It's high drama. It gets people's heart rates up when they're sitting on the couch. And for me as the racer in the moment, it was not nearly as stressful as it was watching the live stream.
Well, and it wasn't, I was like, just go. And then so you take off. And then that's when the drama happened, where it was like, what happened? So I just didn't want you just standing in an aid station waiting for your pacer. That sounded like a
totally.
Idea. But thanks for bringing that up. Totally forgot about that, Leah.
Yeah, Katie's heart rate is like through the roof again.
I know, I'm like,
so Riley, like at what point during the race did you feel like truly safe in first place and like in your secure position?
I never really feel like I have it locked down. I think there's always a chance somebody's going to come from behind. Like usually I am that person coming from behind. But I definitely, going into the third loop, and not seeing other women coming into the aid station behind me was really confidence inspiring, because I knew the third loop was the heat of the day. I knew nobody was going to be making up significant time or trying to make major moves during that third loop. And I knew that I could pretty much keep hanging steady for that. So I was like, okay, cool. I've opened up at least somewhat of a gap. And then probably by the time we were making that final descent from Jackass down to the finish, I think you gave me the split on how far back Hannah potentially was. And yeah, I knew I wanted to finish as hard as I could. So I was feeling like I probably got this in the bag, but like, you can roll an ankle. Like, what if I suddenly start my little throw up thing again? Like, there's never, until you cross the finish line, I'm never like, oh yeah, I got this on lock.
Totally. Gosh, yeah, that was so cool. Like, do you want to talk a little bit about your strategy on the loops? Like, you told me you had a strategy the day prior of like how you're going to approach each loop. And like, based on my one loop with you, I feel like you stayed true to how you were planning on attacking each loop.
Yeah, I pretty much was just kind of survive from headquarters to Jackass in that uphill section. Just try and like keep a steady, consistent pace, and not push anything too hard. And then try and send it as much as I can on the downhill. Cause it's just it's so rolly. It's so nice.
It's
It's
so
so
nice.
nice. And you were flying. Like anytime we'd get, especially to like a flatter downhill, like I don't know if I told you this, but I was at least thinking it. I was like, this is about as fast as I'd be running downhill on this on like my normal day-to-day run. So I felt like, yeah, you kind of knew exactly what you needed to do on on each of those, which was really cool. And I think the one thing that I was telling somebody earlier, it's like when you get me as a pacer, like I'm not somebody that's gonna like tell you a bunch of stories the whole time. Like I'll talk to you and like we'll engage, but like the one thing I did think I had on my side for pacing you was like I had been on the live stream all day. Like I had known like how you had been doing splits on your loops. I had done research on you for like my pre-race preview.
Oh
So like
God.
I knew your historic data. So I knew going into like my loop with you. I think one of the things I told you was I know in your 2022 race you ran like 257, 258, 259 on these loops. So I know you can do a 3 hour loop. And like that was the goal for our loop together. And I think when I stopped my watch, I didn't do the like final little lap through Tent City with you, but I stopped my watch and it said like 3 hours and like 50 seconds or something. And I was so jazzed on that because like you showed in 2022 what it was like to run a really consistent race and be able to like clock lap 3, 4, and 5 at like pretty much the same pace. And then this year, you ran aggressively from the front, but you were still able to close in like those same splits that got you a great time 2 years ago. So, was that a strategy you were planning on, or did it just kind of like happen naturally that way?
No, I definitely wanted to run as consistent a day as I could. Like I think that's one of my strengths in ultra running is just like that kind of consistency over the day instead of like, a Heather Jackson who's just like she can race so hard and like take it out so far in front that like even with a fade she can have a great day. Like I can't do that.
Yeah.
But I can run like very consistently. And I think just, yeah, having that in my mind that, oh, I've run really consistently here before, like, I just know that I can do that, is it's confidence boosting the next time you go to do it because you're like, oh, I've done it before, I can do it again.
Do you have any advice for somebody who's running Javelina?
Don't skimp on the cooling. Like that is really important. Even on cool years, it's still like in the 80s. Um, and yeah, I think the best races there are consistently split. Like, I think that's how the records are going to go down, like consistent or negative split, even on that course. It's just like logistically, because you're doing laps, like you can have kind of the same plan all day and like the course after the first two laps. So yeah, I think consistency is key.
Follow your splits.
Yeah. No. Don't do that. Because if I want to come back.
Oh, yeah. Don't do that. Did you have any low moments that you felt were like that you got nervous about? That you were like, oh God, like you said, you threw up once or maybe twice, but besides that, or was there ever a moment of like, oh God, like this is not going the right direction?
Not really. I I think when I was running with Leah, there were a couple times running up hills that I was like, ugh, I'm moving so slowly. And I was kind of frustrated with myself that I like couldn't make my legs have a little bit more power and go a little faster. Um, but even with the times I threw up, it was just like an easy puke and rally. Everything is so easy when you're not like really nauseous. It's just so much nicer, so much more fun.
Puke and rally is so easy. So easy. That's my takeaway.
When it's like not, like I've just been collapsed on the ground, like unable to hold my body up in so many races this past 2 years. And so to just have like I just, bend over, throw up a little, and then I'm fine. Like, I don't know, all the other problems of ultras, like they're just not as bad as like the stomach issues I've been dealing with. So it's like, it's just such a relief.
I mean, that's gotta feel good after like a year plus now of just frustrating races where you know the one thing holding you back is
Mhm.
your stomach, and you know the fitness is there. Like you know on your best day, like your confidence is there. So that final piece of the puzzle has got to feel pretty satisfying.
Yeah, I'm like I said at the beginning, I'm just so excited about my stomach. Like more than the like on paper results.
Can you talk a little bit about the one thing that you wanted to say to Craig Thornley whenever you got your golden
Oh
ticket?
yeah. I have been waiting almost 2 years now to tell Craig that I will not be throwing up all over his course this year. I I have honestly been holding on to that for quite some time. Like I think when I got there to the finish line, one of the first things I said was, "Where's Craig?"
Oh,
That
it's
sounds like a big shout out to Vic. It sounds like you have figured something out, like you've solved a piece of the puzzle that you've been working with for a long time, and that puzzle piece is critical to success in ultras. And you found the magic. Something happened.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
I definitely want to be able to replicate this, but like I'm feeling like some a switch has flipped.
so cool. Can you talk a little bit? I think I commented while we were out there, while I was pacing you, that I loved the like environment with your crew. And I've engaged with your crew at other races, but you got the tried and true mom and dad. And I said it felt very like no frills, organized, not a ton of like stressful energy. And they just felt like awesome. They know you, they know exactly what you need. And you didn't have like a whole swarm of people around you when you'd come into an aid station. You said you should have seen the pre race meeting. It was but yeah, talk a little bit about having your mom and dad be like your trusty rusty for your races as your crew chiefs.
Yeah, they're definitely my biggest supporters, and I'm so glad that they seem to enjoy this weird sport. But yeah, we were dialed on race day. Everything went really smoothly with them. But at the pre-race meeting, I'd like give them what I thought were very clear instructions. Have to repeat it a couple of times. Like they'd repeat something totally wrong back to me. And I was like, no, 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 no. Like, let's start over. And my dad is sitting there, like, writing out full paragraphs of instructions for himself because that's like what he needs to do to like get it in his head. But I was like, Dad, you don't want to do like a clear bullet point list? He's like, nope, it's more clear this way.
In a paragraph.
Full paragraphs.
Okay, so
but it worked at the end of the day.
what were some of these instructions that you were telling your crew, your parents?
It was literally just I need a full bottle of Scratch High Carb leaving the aid station, and my 2 powder bottles, one of Precision, one of regular Scratch. I have gels as backup calories, and then this is my caffeine plan. I was going to take a caffeinated gel thing like about every other hour. I thought it was pretty like straightforward, but as they pointed out, like, you know, they haven't done this. Like they don't know all these different products. So like it's more to kind of like it's more like new information, I guess, to them.
Did your
That makes
caffeine plan turn out the way you expected it to?
No, I took one of them, threw up, and was like, "We're done. No caffeine. We're done."
Perfect.
Yeah, that's incredible. I'm a huge relier on caffeine, so to hear that you went largely caffeineless, it's impressive.
I think if I had been thinking more clearly, I should have switched to Coke, grabbing some Coke bottles at aid stations to get some caffeine, but I wasn't thinking clearly. So lessons learned for next time.
Can you talk a little bit about like the balance that you have outside of running? Like what the rest of your life looks outside of training? I know you've had like different training blocks this year that have actually looked quite different. You had a big training block for CCC, which was probably a little bit unlike some of the other training you've done in the past. But when you're not training, what brings you joy?
Yeah. When I'm not training, I really enjoy hanging out with my friends. I definitely try to make a lot of time to spend time with them. I also, when I can fit it in, really trying to get into the bicycle frame building world, and metal fabrication more generally. Um, I feel like that process is kind of slow. I like wait for periods after races and then do like a couple classes. So I'm doing a blacksmithing class this weekend and a TIG welding class,
Oh, that's so
which
cool.
I'm really excited about. And then I work as a bike mechanic 3 days a week, and I enjoy it. So yeah, that's kind of my life outside of training.
Okay, I have a question.
And I coach. I coach a few people. So yeah.
How long have you been coaching?
A couple of years now.
Okay. Wow. So
Yeah.
both of our first place finishers were our coaches, which is interesting. Maybe adds a little bit of that experience and knowledge might be contributing to these insane performances. I'm curious a little bit about this bike mechanic profession of yours, because now that I am a cyclist, first, how did that come to be? I mean, were you a cyclist first and then became a runner?
No.
How did you become a bike mechanic?
After college, I biked down the West Coast. And that was kind of the biggest bike tour that I've done. And then did a few more trips after that, but nothing quite as long. Didn't know anything that first time, like learned how to change a flat on the side of the road with a thunderstorm rolling in and like trying to take all the bags off my bike. And yeah, and thought it was always in the back of my mind after that while I was kind of casting about after college, like, I don't know what I want to do. And ended up getting a job right before COVID as a bike mechanic. And then got an email saying, stand by, we're closing the shop.
No, but that's when everybody needed a bike mechanic, because that's when the bike industry absolutely boomed. Yeah.
Right. A couple weeks later, they were like, yep, we're an essential business. We'll see you on Monday. So I got a ton of experience, like very, very quickly, because we were slammed and was working crazy long hours.
Wait, can we pause for a second? You really were an essential worker? They said that, like at the bike store?
Yeah. Bike shops were deemed essential businesses.
Just
and
like
I was like, cool. So people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which like in cities makes sense. Where I was living, it was like, yeah, it's so rich people can buy their fancy toys. Like that's what it is. But
people need it to commute.
I'm still
maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I'm grateful for that experience that I got. Super crash course, and probably got to do a lot of things I wouldn't get to do otherwise.
That's so cool. I wish I could do anything like that, frankly.
Bikes are
also sounds like it's a lot of manual labor too. So it's like even when you are you're working 3 days a week, like you're not just chilling. Like that's a lot of time on feet, a lot of time like lifting things and like basically strength training all hours of the day. How do you fit that piece in?
Yeah, it's definitely, so most of the time it's fine, and I like being on my feet. I don't really like sitting a lot. Definitely in my bigger volume weeks, I feel tired and I'm like, I do not have energy to be at work right now.
Yeah.
And it's also a little tough because I don't get off work until 6 p.m. And usually I like to be asleep by like 8:30. And so like I get home from work and it's like a mad dash to bed.
So you are goals right there. That is goals. We're keeping you up late tonight.
I know, Mike. Now
I'm living it up.
This is crazy right now. We're like going. This is very late night hours.
It's post race. I can do whatever I want.
I love it. Okay, so are you wanting to be sponsored? Is that something that you desire?
What a great question. I think sponsorship would be very helpful if it is a level of sponsorship that enables me to train and get to these races, and maybe not have to spend so much time on my feet at work. I am not like tripping over myself to represent a brand for like free gear, or like $1,000 a year or a travel budget. It needs to make a significant difference in my ability to live and train, um, and yeah, and race. Like I'm not dying. I don't need the sponsorship for the validation. But if it would help me be a better runner, then I'd be interested.
I don't know if I feel like I don't know if you're on Facebook or not, Riley, but
Oh,
so so I don't know if you've seen this yet or not, but you know Ian Golden from the Trails Collective.
yes,
Um,
big fan of Ian.
Yeah, he made a post about you today, just talking about like how you are an athlete that like 100% deserves sponsorship, and like how he'd love to like get like crowdfunding if you don't secure a big sponsor by next year's Western States, like how he really thinks the community should come together to support your entry
Oh
and like
my God.
your into Western
You didn't know
States.
about this?
And
That's so sweet.
Aw.
and it's
I mean,
it's really
he
cool.
texted me and said like, great job. Like, let me know how I can support. Like, yeah, I'm a big Ian Golden fan. He does so much for like the running community, especially on the East Coast. Like the Red Newt races, they're staples on the East Coast.
Yeah, he does have a sentence in here that says, "I haven't cleared the concept with Riley yet." So
Oh yeah, I did not know he was doing this.
Well, we'll put
but
a
I think
link.
anybody
Yeah, link in the show
anybody that
notes.
follows yeah, anybody that follows you out there knows that your uniform in races is often sporting the Trails Collective t-shirt, which honestly looks like it's like great for like getting wet and staying wet and like holds like the cold really nicely in the races. But yeah, you do great advertising for his organization too.
Yeah, I just like that shirt. It's like the right cut for me. It's really soft material. Yeah, it's just my favorite shirt.
I love it. Okay, well, we know you're going to be racing Western States next year. Is there anything else on the docket that you're thinking about?
I'm in Black Canyon.
Okay,
Nice.
Yeah.
nice. Just to rep. You're like, I don't need a ticket. I'm just here to throw down.
Honestly, I feel like that's going to be so nice
Yeah.
at that race. Like to not go in with the pressure of trying to get a ticket and to be able to just have fun and hopefully have a good day on that course. Yeah, I'm really excited.
What a good feeling. I think like taking that pressure off, especially after like, I mean, you've been on the hunt for a golden ticket for several years and then you acquired one and then you were back on the hunt for another year here. So that's got to be like finally a really nice, like peaceful place to be in.
It is. It's quite nice.
Riley, thank you so much for coming on the pod today. I feel like now I'm looking at the clock going, wow, this is way past your bedtime. All of our bedtime.
My sleep has been messed up this week. Don't worry about it.
Imagine if you took caffeine. Like, just imagine what it would have been like.
I know.
Right?
I know.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Is there any closing thoughts that you want to tell our listeners?
Just that I am so stoked on the trail community, and my community here in Boulder more generally. Like, I just felt so much love and support going into this race, and then also coming out the other end. But I think sometimes, before these big results happen, like to just go in knowing that like you have the best friends and the best support network behind you. Yeah, it feels amazing, and just, yeah, stoked on this community and the people here, you guys included.
And I will say, like, your whole community, everybody in your life, or maybe like not even in your life, showed up for you like insanely in the live stream chat all day long. Anytime there was a Riley sighting, you had like hundreds of people in the chat just like on your side. So I think that
Oh my
speaks to like
God.
who you are as a person as well. You're so easy to root for. You're so easy to like be on Team Riley. And like I know I said it a couple times this weekend, but like I'm the number one fan of the the Riley fan club over here.
I'm also a number one fan. I think you've got like hundreds, maybe thousands of number one fans. We'll let your sponsors know that you have lots of fans.
Okay.
Awesome, Riley. Well, thanks so much again for your time. We wish you the best of luck coming up races. Black Canyon, I might be seeing you there. I don't know, Leah, will you be there?
I just found out today I'm not going to be there. I know we help out with our grandeur Rufa. Mike directs the 1-8 station, and we help with all the volunteer coordination. So.
Same weekend.
Okay, Mike literally told me today he thinks he's going to be at Black Canyon. So this is breaking news.
Breaking news.
I know. He was like, he mass texted our group of friends and was like, hey, who wants to help me volunteer? And there was like several people there that were like, that's Black Canyon weekend.
Oh, no. Oh, man. Well, I'll be there, Riley. That's the plan, at least. I'm not thrilled to race you, but I'll be.
Oh, you're racing? You're going to be racing?
That's the plan right now. I need a ticket, Riley.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Yeah, you do.
I need a ticket.
Okay, that's really exciting.
Yeah, well, we'll find out if it's exciting.
Yes, Katie, that's so exciting.
I'm excited. I'm super excited. All right. Well, thanks again. And until next time, folks. Well, that was a fun one. Thank you, Riley, for coming on the pod. We can't wait to see what is in your future now that you have solved a piece of the nutrition puzzle. If you enjoyed this episode, share with your friends. Give us 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcast. Follow us on Instagram and YouTube. Till next time, trail friends.